I guess we'll get the meeting started. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins.
Here.
Trustee Canada.
Here.
Trustee Carroll. Here. Trustee Jenkins.
Here.
Trustee Luck. Trustee Malone.
Here.
Trustee May.
Here.
Trustee Mealer. Trustee O'Malley.
Here.
Trustee Rayburn.
Here.
And before we get officially started, let me kind of officially welcome our new student trustee, Celeste Malone. Celeste is over here. Wave, Celeste, please. She started with us yesterday in the committee meetings and did a great job, and we're looking forward to having a terrific year with you, Celeste, so welcome to the team. Please note that there are items on your agenda that need to be adopted. Before I call for a vote, are there any items you wish to be extracted from the consent agenda? I move then for adoption of the agenda, including the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
So move.
Seconded by Trustee Atkins. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The adoption, or any opposed? The agenda is adopted. The minutes for the March 9th, 2018 board meeting were circulated in advance of the meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Move we approve.
There's
Second.
a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. At this time, I'd like to recognize President White, who will introduce individuals from our advancement team to provide us with a campus spotlight.
Thank you, Chairman O'Malley. Today is a kind of a soft launch, you would say, of what will be a very intense and exciting comprehensive campaign to launch us to the next phase of growth for the university. And I have asked Vice President Vandermeer, who is Vice President for Advancement, Communication, and Strategic Initiatives, to give us the campus spotlight today to help you understand who the players are, what the objectives are, and also to get you excited. This is not the kickoff of the campaign, but this is letting the board get started from the ground up before the launch of the campaign. And I invite Vice President Vandermeer to the dais.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. There we go. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm going to co-present today.
You are? Okay, good.
Yeah, good.
Because I obviously can't work the clicker.
Great. First off, to start the presentation, we're very excited about the direction of development at Austin Peay State University. The last few years, and Chris will go into, I'm not going to steal Chris's thunder, but the focus has been on two things. We're very proud of what we've achieved year to year, but the whole philosophy of development today is not working for just today. There in the development industry, there's very much a danger when you focus on only today's results. You have to build for the future. And everything we have done in the last 3 years is to focus on that future, from our targeted goal strategies to developing a pipeline to engagement with donors and alumni. And there's a vision of how to get there. And just to introduce Chris Phillips, we brought Chris on a couple years ago. And I'll tell you what, he has been an amazing asset to this organization. His ability to cultivate and develop relationships and be a true leader with our development and advancement area. And I'm going to let Chris, and he'll also introduce his staff, but I'll also introduce what he's doing to help us support that vision and the dynamic vision of our strategic plan. So Chris.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm Chris Phillips. I'm Executive Director of University Advancement, and I'm just going to tell you, I love Austin Peay State University. It's in my DNA. I'm a third-generation Austin Peay alumnus, and in fact, some of you may know this or may not know this about me, but my grandfather's name was actually Austin Peay. Not P-E-A-Y, but just P, Austin Peay. So it's kind of been inbred in me for a long time, and certainly have enjoyed this. And getting to come in every day and lead a team of professionals and the advancement in alumni relations is truly a pleasure for me. This is home, and I certainly can't start without thanking the leadership, and that leadership starts right here around this table. You all have been very supportive of us, and you play a vital role in our success, and not just with your service here as a Board of Trustee member, but also what you do with your time, your talent, and of course, your treasures. So on behalf of my team and of all of Austin Peay, thank you for what you've done for us and what you'll continue to do. The team, I certainly could not be here today without a great team. And this slide, as complex as it looks, is certainly a great review of the folks who come in every day and do the best that they can to work in engagement for Austin Peay State University. And they're all here. And I certainly want to thank them and our foundation for the support that they've given me in the past 2 years to be able to do some things in the advancement office to move it forward to where we need to be. And I would just like to ask the greatest team of advancement professionals in the nation to stand up, please, and take a bow for a great job. And thank you for your service to Austin Peay. Our job is simply to facilitate lifelong relationships, and we do that with our alumni and friends. But the truth is, it's everyone's job to do that, and that's from our faculty to our staff and through our alumni and our friends. So I just wanted to say that. As we get into the slide presentation, I wanted to give you a slide of overall giving to Austin Peay in the past 5 years. If you look at that slide, you will see that we're actually in one of the greatest growth and sustained times in our history when it comes to giving. Those 5 years, it's about an average of $7.5 million. That's great, but it's got to be better, and we know that. And part of what we're trying to do to gear up for this campaign is we're able to do things like get the foundation to help us with things like a management fee, to help us be able to grow our staff, to be able to do the tools that we need to do a customer relationship management system. And just to give you some return on investment on that, since September of 2016, when we introduced a customer relationship management system, we have raised online $250,000. And that's people going online and paying with their credit card. That's cash in hand. So seeing the vision and making that happen is what's happening at Austin Peay. And that's just one example of the great things that we're able to do now that we're here. When you look at that total, just note that the way our industry counts gifts, it's cash, it's pledges, it's estate and bequests from alumni, friends, corporations, and foundations. I'm happy to report with 22 days left, we're at $9.7 million. That will be our second, if it ended today, it would be the second best year in Austin Peay history, which is phenomenal. Now, included in that total is $852,000 that Ryan Ivey and his team have raised with corporate partnerships this year, too. That's something that we include in our total, even though it's not something that we receipt necessarily, but just wanted to let you know that. But we're excited about that. It's a great time, and we're going to get to 10 million soon, I hope. But the greatest year, if you ever know what the biggest year that we ever had, was fiscal year 13, and we had a $15.6 million year, and that included our largest gift to date, which was a $10 million estate gift. So they say that things are going in the direction that we want them to is an understatement, but we still know that we have more to do. Total donors. This number here, I want you all to look at it and focus on the 3280. That's fiscal year 17. In your package, you have a pyramid. To make the pyramid show a little better, we wanted to do this chart for you. These are the levels of what we call a pipeline, okay? The blue that you see, annual giving, that represents what we consider the door, the welcome mat. Annual gifts are anything from $1 to $9,999. What do we do to increase that or to raise people? We've got to get them to the pipeline to where they're given to the 10,000 level, leadership annual giving. Then we get to the major gifts. Major gifts is where you start endowments. Endowments are examples of that are scholarships in perpetuity that many of you have done for us. Right now, we have 654 endowed scholarships that we've given out $1.3 million this past year to students. That's through gifts from our alumni and friends. Principal gifts, that's anything that's $100,000 or above. And of course, the top level, when we actually get the playing gift to someone's estate, which are very nice, you'll see 4 gifts this year from 17 and 18 equates to a commitment of $2.2 million for the university. So this is a lot to take in, but what I'll say is The total donor number, as we increase dollars, the donor number has to increase, and we do that through engagement. And engagement truly starts here, now, with our students. And just this past year, Nikki and her team in Alumni Relations and Rylan and Annual Giving started a senior gift program for the first time in our history. And we were able to get almost 200 students who are graduating to make their first gift to Austin Peay. It equated to about $5,000. But the most important thing that it did is started the habit. And that's what we have to do. And it's not just making the gift. Now we have to engage them, now that they're alumni, in chapters, in clubs, and organizations that we do through the Alumni Association. Get them involved with our college advisory boards, things like that. So it's all about engagement, and that's the way we're going to grow our program as we move forward through this campaign. I mentioned the foundation and the structure, and Derek, who's the executive director of our foundation, is going to take this slide and lead us through the discussion about our foundation.
Chris is talking about, we had a really big debate yesterday, by the way. I really wanted the pyramid and he wanted the numbers. And so you can see how our minds work. I want pictures and he likes numbers. The reason why the pyramid's an important representation of the concept of pipeline is that everything that you do organizationally in development, you should be looking at how do you create the tools to build the future. Foundation structure has been a very important element. And the number one area when you look at that pipeline is you have to take that person that gives $1 to the university and cultivate, develop that $1. And you know, your overhead to develop that is going to be expensive for a while. You're going to lose some dollars on that. But that yield comes 20 years down the road, 25, as that person gets through their career and has more expendable cash and revenue, and they get their children through college, and they have retirement and investment, but you have to develop and cultivate that relationship through an entire lifetime. And the principle of that is, how do you do that? And that is telling the story of Austin Peay. Everything that you do is to communicate to those people what Austin Peay is doing. And I'll tell you what, when you are around our faculty and they're talking about the vision of the university and the vision of programs and academic programs and arts and what's happening in the arts, the faculty are the greatest storytellers. And I always say to Chris, we're the servants. We're the facilitators that take the faculty and the student stories and connect it with the people. My greatest event that I go to at Austin Peay is that scholarship dinner, because you connect the donor with the student, the story of someone who couldn't have gone to college. You know, they're married, they were in the military, their only hope was that $1,000 scholarship, and a $1,000 scholarship is life-changing to many of these students. And so connecting that story and with those individuals is critical. So the key thing is, how do we take donors and how do we get them engaged in our foundation? How do we make that a living, breathing part of their life and their reality? And that's what we've tried to do with the foundation, is take the structure from a meeting, a board meeting, to a narrative of who we are and what we're becoming. And that's why we've created these subcommittees focused on athletics, fine arts committee, development committee, focused on all the different things we're doing to generate revenue, all those different pipeline initiatives, governance to look at our overall structure, and within governance, we're also creating an audit committee. We've taken our board and we've said, okay, how do we make the people that are participating in our board active, engaged participants who are helping us lead us to another generation of gifts? This slide on foundation reorganization that we've been through has created that structure. And a great example of that is the individual that we're going to bring up today, and that's Doug and Linda Downey. And we're going to have Doug speak to you in a couple minutes here. But the Downeys were individuals that I met a couple years ago. I'm going to embarrass Doug a little bit. But the reason why I'm going to embarrass him is because, to me, he's the type of donor that I love to work with. He has given, and he's given very generously, but more importantly is his story about playing baseball at Austin Peay and being a captain, and everything that he has done in his gifting has been, I'm going to be a leader in the eyes of the community. And it's not because he wants it thrown on him, because I'll tell you what, he's a very humble man, and he and his wife are both very, very humble people. But it's that I need to inspire the people I played with. I need to inspire other donors to want to be a part of that. How can I use my gifting to lead? And fundamentally, that lead concept is who we are at Austin Peay. Is lead, a value set is our identity is we're going to be leaders. And he wants to be part of that, leading other people to giving. And everything he has done with his peers to other baseball players, to other people in our community, is every gift is to lead other people to come to the table as well. It's been a great honor to work with him. I'm very proud of what he has done for this university, and you should be as well. And we're very excited to both have Doug and Linda here today. But I'm going to ask Doug, please come forward.
I'm not sure we deserve that, but anyway, thank you, Derek. "43 years ago, I set foot on this campus, and I had one purpose, and that was to play baseball. It's all I ever wanted to do. 42 years ago, I met her. In this town, her father was a small businessman. And 40 years ago, this coming Sunday, she agreed to be my wife. So this place and that ball field and this town are very special, very special. This university didn't have to cultivate me at all. Jordan Harmon, and this may be inappropriate language, but as we try to help each other tell stories about why we need your presence and your gifts, I asked Jordan, why didn't you ask for something? He goes, well, I can't ask that on the first date. And I told Jordan, I said, well, I put out on the first date and you didn't even have to ask me.
Strike that from the minutes. Strike that from the minutes.
I'll let that soak in for a minute. So over the past 40 years, I have watched my wife serve selflessly in the small community where we live in Robertson County, Springfield, Tennessee, through church, civic, and family. And she ought to be the one sitting here in front of you today telling you why we give. But her example has led us and led me to a point where we have frequent discussions about, well, they open with the question, what would you say if I told you I wanted to do this? And it started 5 years ago when I met Derek by just random circumstance at a Boots Donnelly charity golf tournament, Backfield of Motion. Had an Austin Peay baseball golf shirt on. Derek saw it, introduced himself. I had no idea what his last name was.
Still don't.
I have to look it up to spell it. I will grant you that. And that was in the spring or early summer. And then that fall, our ball club with our head coach had our very first reunion after several decades. And Derek had been asked to speak to the ball club and a lot of my teammates. And Linda and I believe that things happen for a reason. And Derek was there twice, and our head coach then challenged us to help the program. So that was one of those moments when I went home and I said, Linda, what would you say if I told you I wanted to do this? Because we had been charitable in small ways, but the gist of the conversation evolved to, we need to be more important to a shorter list. And this is what I would like to do. And if you'll allow me to do this, you pick something, and we will be important to something that matters to you as well. And that's what we did, and that's how this evolved. I never thought at that moment that it would get to a point where we think we may be living in our vehicles someday. We have two nice vehicles. But in case we do have to live in them. I never thought it would come to this. We're humbled today, and I want to share just 4 bullet points with you that have defined our lives, but really, Linda lives this, and I've learned from her. Service is the rent you pay for being. This is the very purpose of life, and not something that you do in your spare time. So service can be time, and for many, many, many years, that's all we had. We didn't have any money. We were working hard to accomplish that, raise a son that we're very proud of, and now a daughter-in-law, and now a granddaughter. but she epitomizes that. The only thing that we're going to take with us is what we leave behind. And so we're trying to leave something behind, not only here, but also in Robertson County. This is one of my favorites. If you want to accomplish something fast, do it yourself. If you want to accomplish something that will last, do it together. Together is defined as Linda and I, but together can be a group of folks that come together that wish to support and give in a greater way. And that's what I hope I can continue to do for this university. There may be a little bit more money, but I think over time now, it may be gifts of service that will be equally important. And finally, I'll leave you with this. And this is absolutely where Linda lives. There are a lot of good people out there. If you can't find one, be one. Appreciate the opportunity. Y'all have been very kind to us, kinder than we deserve, but we'll be here for you. And I guess that's all I have to say. Is that good enough? Okay. All right.
Linda, would you stand also? I know, just let people know that you're here. I'm so appreciative. Thank you.
Doug is also the chair of our athletics committee. As we started to reorganize the foundation, finding individuals that jump into those leadership opportunities to help be a part of building the program. Development is the staff who has done a great job, but development is all of our donors out there who are working relentlessly to help our program be a success, and that's the best part of it. Major changes that have happened in the last 3 years. Staff has been reorganized in the department to produce efficiency, and that's just looking at different roles. Having really, really strong metrics. Leading with the metric is a philosophy of mine because I believe that if you have a number, much like our strategic plan, once President White put that flag in the ground and said, this is where we're going, it's amazing to watch an organization start to change to chase. And I was actually in Don Jenkins. I learned that from Don Jenkins from his car sales meeting. He invited me to my first month here, right in this room. And he had all these numbers on the board. And he goes, we're chasing this. And how everybody talks about that. And that's really what our organization is. We're all chasing that number. But our metrics are really, and our staff is organized to do that. We added another full-time development officer with the dollars that we received from the foundation to really focus on business. We think there's a lot of opportunity in that area within this community with some of the corporate growth. Foundation management fee was, and now we're into our, was passed by our foundation, which is supporting these changes. Second year of the new customer relationship tool, database, strong database, strong CRM that really helps us to understand the profile of our donors and to also identify new donors. Everything we do is we have a lot of alumni that we've never touched. We did a wealth index screening for donors across the country. And I said, you know, the standard, I'm going to make sure Chris gives me the correct number here, but when you look at the ratio of our managers to potential donors, that ratio should be roughly, Chris likes to say it's 100 to 1 development officer. I would like 200 to 1 here. Unfortunately, we're in a situation where we have roughly 300 to 400 potential prospects to one manager, and that's just not healthy from the standpoint of growth. So we'll continue to look at growth as being an important element of our future. And then a culture of philanthropy. How do we communicate? And that's what we're working on. We're hiring a staff writer to just focus on alumni communication strategies and to integrate our alumni communication strategies within the broader marketing strategies of the university. And there's a marriage that we're working on. So when you start to look at our website, you start to see alumni profiles streaming through our marketing strategy and helping to identify the people that have helped define and create Austin Peay. So that's some of the changes. The next slide is on our campaign advancement goals that are tied to our strategic plan. Once again, the metrics that are driving our thinking. We want to increase by 100% the number of donors that give annually. Why is that the number one objective? Because that is the future. It's not just living for that dollar win at the end of the year. Wins are great, but we want to win 10 years from now too. So our pipeline is the most important part of our identity. In development, increasing 100% the size of our foundation endowments. When we start building our comprehensive campaign, we're looking at how do we double that size, and that's endowed chairs, that's scholarships, those are things that we're focused on. Increase annual average dollars raised by 50%. So while you're increasing your total endowment size, we want the average amount coming in each year to roughly go from $10 million to $20 million per year is our goal. And I love that goal, and it's helped to find what we've been doing the last couple of years. Create and communicate a strong fundraising vision, and that's the communication element of everything we do. The next slide is the comprehensive campaign, looking at, and this is much what I talked about. The structure of the campaign will be focused on endowment and scholarship growth, capital projects. The new health professions building will be a focal point right up front, making sure that we're prepared to support the growth in enrollment that's occurring on campus. Prioritize initiatives to support programmatic growth and strategic opportunities where the president can look at how to add programs or improve programs to capture greater market share within interested areas of development. Next slide. Recently, there's been some tax reform. I'm going to just touch on this briefly. Two reasons why. A, I'm not the expert. I usually tell people to talk to your tax advisor. And B, I have Larry Carroll in the room. So I feel like if I do it wrong, he'll make sure he corrects me. I've told Larry, I said, if I do something wrong, just jump in. There's just 3 points I'm going to focus on. With the recent tax reform, which increased, obviously, the standard deduction rate, married individuals filing jointly really goes from about $12,700 to $2,400. So there's less likely people will be itemizing their taxes, and so charitable giving there is potential for that to be a challenge for us moving forward. Motivation for giving obviously is not just for the charitable the benefits, so the tax benefits, but we are tracking on that and are concerned about that. The double estate tax exclusion, gift exemption going from 5.6 to 11.2 million. Obviously, that higher rate is a concern to us because obviously for people that are doing estate planning, their propensity to gift, obviously not the primary reason, but we're tracking on that impact on charitable giving. Probably the most immediate concern is the deduction related to seating benefits. That is a concern for us because historically, when people purchase seats at most athletic events in college, there's a gift component tied to where they're able to purchase a seat. Under the reform that occurred, that is not now considered tax exempt. A portion of that was always considered tax exempt. It's not considered tax exempt any longer. And so what we've had to do to continue to capture that revenue, consider it non-taxable revenue, not non-taxable exempt revenue. And so we're assigning it as an athletic fee, a student athlete benefit fee. And so we've changed that structure. That's concerning. However, we've really tracked nationally what everybody else is doing in the country, and everybody else is faced with the same issue. And everybody has maintained the structures. And people that give to our athletic program, they're doing it to better the student athlete, to better that experience, and to continue to do that. And we believe, and the motivation has been from the vast majority of our donors, supporters, while they may not get the tax benefit, they're continuing to buy the seats because they realize that that's how they're enhancing the program and supporting the growth of the program. And so we're tracking on that. While some people have been concerned about that and some people have been confused by the change in position, we believe that overall we'll continue to see sustained support for our program moving forward. Larry, did I mess up anything? Okay. I actually went back to your email and read everything, so I knew I wasn't going to mess it up. So thank you very much. All right. Then I'm going to turn it over to Chris. I just wanted to say thank you very much. Really appreciate the support of this board. This is a pretty phenomenal group of people on this board that are also leaders, and your leadership is greatly appreciated because many of you have been around here many, many years and have been leaders in philanthropy to the university.
And I wonder why I'm losing all of my hair. So these last two slides are just, I want to share this because I was reading some of the information that my team put together for this presentation. Do you realize we have opened or had a special event? We've done it 17 times since April of 2016. And if you want to break that down even further, this past fiscal year, Nikki, Tanya, Janie, and our team opened or had some special events, 9 of those this year. So I just want to say thank you for our incredible work that they do, because that's a lot right there. You're talking about engaging people. I mean, those are folks who have stepped up and made gifts to us that we're able to, in perpetuity, name things or to have. You know, we're starting with the eclipse and going through all the different ribbon cuttings. And that's just amazing. Some schools wouldn't do that in a decade, right? And we've done 9 this year. So I'm very proud of that and just wanted to point that out to folks. And then finally, you know, we do different things. You get a lot of invitations to things, but I really want to commend, the Candlelight Ball going into its 35th year this year. I think that's right, Nick? We had the most people we've ever had at Candlelight Ball this year and raised over $100,000 for the first time for scholarships because of the work of Nikki, her team, and of course the volunteers who really made that happen. Gov's Gatherings, those are engagement opportunities that we have in different cities for our alumni. We branded those and have had great success by utilizing host committees to get people to come out and support us. Senior Toast, that was our first this year. President White and Elliott on the balcony of Harned, and we toasted our seniors who made their first gift, and we gave them a cord to put over there to wear with their regalia, and it was a great event. First time we ever had a legacy luncheon where we matched our incoming freshmen who are legacy alumni and their parents, and we had a reception for them or lunch for them during move-in week, which was a lot of fun. Gave them the pen to commemorate that. Gov's Give, that's one of the things that we're really proud of with giving. We talked about $250,000 coming in online. Well, Gov's Give probably did that. That's our campaign. Last year, we kicked it off with the 90th anniversary. We tried to raise $90,000 in 90 hours. We did 148 in 90 hours, which when you do that, you do it again. So this year we cut the time down to 72 because Rylan told me if I did 90 again, he was probably going to leave and I couldn't have that. But our goal was 150 and we did 175. The biggest number I think that comes out of that, in the 2 years we've done this program, we've had around 400 people who've made their first gift to Austin Peay through this program. And it's really, really helped us with the young alums to get them engaged. So thank you all who have supported that, not only with your gifts, but also we have people who matched all that money so people could match up to $250 of each gift. So very excited. And then, of course, this year, we also have another legacy. It's called the Legacy Society. That's our folks who have left us in their estate gifts. And we had our first brunch with President White and others around the holidays tied to the choral dinner, and that was a great success. So, we're doing things different, and we're trying to change things up. We know we're in Rome, not in a day, but we're trying. And we certainly appreciate the support of the people around this table and the team. And I just have to say, doing this job, I mentioned, is a pleasure. But it's getting to know people like Doug and Linda Downey and now their extended family and getting to hang out with them and become their friends. Larry Carroll, Don Jenkins. I mean, go around this table of the people. All of us have those relationships. And the fact that I get to do that every day is amazing. And I hope that we'll get to work together soon. And I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for giving us this opportunity. And I know we're running a little long on time, so if there are questions, we'll be around later and we'll be happy to answer those. But thanks for all you do, and let's go Peay.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Chris. Thanks very much to the whole advancement team that's here. Thank you guys for being here today, and thank you especially for all the work that you do. And mostly thank you to Doug and Linda Downey for your inspiration and all you've done for this university. We appreciate it very much. I'd now like to recognize Trustee Jenkins, Chair of the Academic Policies and Programs Student Life Committee, to give us a report on the committee meeting yesterday. Don?
Thank you for the opportunity to present my report on the yesterday's Academic Programs and Policies Student Life Board Committee meeting. We're working really hard to make this title to this even longer, kind of like Derek's title, so yeah. We're working on that. The committee reviewed the following information items. Provost Gandy informed the committee of the status of the Bachelor of Science in Aviation Science program. Provost Gandy also provided information on military student enrollment, which he will also present to you during today's meeting. The committee reviewed and approved the following action items, which you approved today by consent. The graduate certificate in data mining, a graduate certificate in music performance, graduate certificate in grant writing, a graduate certificate in academic advising, graduate certificate in conflict resolution and negotiation, a graduate certificate in leading organizational change, accelerated undergraduate certificate in culinary arts, revision of undergraduate degree requirements. I would like to point out that 2 of these certificates require SAC COC approval, grant writing, and academic advising. The committee reviewed and approved the following action items. tenure and promotion approvals, tenure upon appointment, Dr. Mickey Hepner, Dean College of Business. The above items will be presented for your review and action after approval of the board committee minutes. The committee reviewed Dr. Halliman's petition for the right to appeal the promotion decision to the Board of Trustees, and we voted to postpone the decision until the September committee meeting. That concludes my report. I move that the board approve the minutes of the June 7th Academic Programs and Policy Student Life Board Committee as written.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Trustee Rayburn. It has been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the Academic Policies and Programs Student Life Committee. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Trustee Jenkins' report contained action items that we need to consider as a full board. Trustee Jenkins, do you have a motion for us?
Yes, you have before you the information regarding the faculty members recommended for tenure and promotion. By direction of the committee, I move that the board approve tenure and promotion to the faculty. Sorry, okay. By direction of the committee, I move that the board approve tenure and promotion to the faculty as listed in the board agenda.
Because it's a motion of the committee, we do not need a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on that Don just mentioned, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, Don.
You have before you the information regarding the tenure upon appointment for Dr. Mickey Hepner, Dean of the College of Business. By direction of the committee, I move that the board approve tenure upon appointment for Dr. Mickey Hepner.
Again, because it's a motion of the committee, we don't need a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the approval of tenure upon appointment is on the table. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Don.
We'd like to introduce Mickey Hepner. If you will stand up, Mickey's here. Let's give him a hand. Dr. Hepner will be working to get our business department at Austin P fully accredited. He says it's a 5 to 7 year process. He and I, neither one have hair to slow us down. It's going to take him 5 years. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Don, and congratulations, Dr. Hepner. I'd now like to recognize Trustee Kanata, member of the Audit Committee, to give us a report of the committee meeting yesterday.
Thank you. In yesterday's audit committee, we listened to presentations on 3 subjects. First was a discussion of the internal audit governance, specifically independence and objectivity. Third, we reviewed the internal audit reports issued between February 13th, 2018 through May 11th, 2018, along with a list of outstanding audit recommendations. Third, we reviewed the internal audit department's spring 2018 client satisfaction survey results. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from yesterday's audit committee meeting?
So moved.
So it's been
Second.
moved. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the Audit Committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the minutes of the Audit Committee meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Trustee Kanata, is there any additional items for the full board to consider?
There's not.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to recognize Trustee Atkins, Chair of the Business and Finance Committee, to give us a report of their committee meeting yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to present my report from yesterday's Business Finance Committee meeting. The committee reviewed and approved the following action items. Mandatory fee increases for the 2018-2019 academic year. Tuition increase for the 2018-2019 academic year. Differential tuition rate for the Graduation Executive Education Program. the estimated budget for the 2017-2018 fiscal year, and proposed budget for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. Capital outlay and maintenance request for 2019 through 2020 fiscal year. These items will be presented for your review and action in a few minutes. The committee reviewed the following information item: the university's organizational chart. During the university's budget cycle, the university's organizational chart is reviewed and updated as appropriate. Mr. Robinson discussed the changes to the organizational chart with the committee. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report, and I move that the board approve the minutes of the June 7th Business and Finance Committee meeting.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Kanata. It has been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes of the Business and Finance Committee meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the minutes of the Business and Finance Committee meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Before Trustee Atkins brings us his actions for the board, I'd like to recognize Mitch Robinson, Vice President for Finance and Administration, to give us an update on the university's master plan.
Thank you, Chairman O'Malley. It's my pleasure to present to you an update to the Campus Master Plan to the Board of Trustees with an update on the progress that we're making in addressing several master plan items. The first slide actually will show us some of our capital outlay priorities. The Health Professions Building that we mentioned yesterday during our committee meeting is a 121,000 square foot building. Its expected cost is almost $80 million, and it will be located in the slide that you see there before you on the right-hand side in a parking lot, which we typically use for our new buildings. As the second priority we have on capital outlay projects is the Student Success Woodward Library renovation and expansion. That is expected to be a 40,000 square foot addition and expected to be about $26 million in cost. And the third priority project for the institution is a new classroom building, which is about 20,000 square feet gross and $12,500 in cost. Again, you can see where the proposed location is of the new classroom building. You might notice that that's also on the site of the Marks building. The Marks building is something that's been identified to be demolished in the past 3 master plans and is continued to be replaced by a new classroom building. The next major project that we have going on, we do have some massing studies. Now, let me explain what a massing study is about. This is what it would look like if we were to build our new health professions building, how large it would be in the location that we've identified. In the massing study 1, it's looking north, as you can see, along 8th Street. The building is actually on the right-hand side next to the Maynard building. And then the next one, we have 2 different studies. One is to show it a different style, and it's really just to give you an understanding of the size of a 121,000 square foot building and what it would look like potentially. This is not an architectural design. This is just an idea of what it would look like. So it's rather large and very, very predominant, as you can see along 8th Street. Okay, the next project that we are talking about is the Ann Ross Bookstore, and let me make sure everyone understands we're not changing the name of the bookstore. We're moving the Ann Ross Bookstore to a new building. The building might be named something else, but the bookstore will be the Ann Ross Bookstore. And this is actually the, I'll just refer to it as the Ford Building. That is the, of course, it's on the corner of 4th and College Street. It's being renovated. Actually, right now, we're in the schematic design phase, where, as you can see here, we have a floor plan, a general idea of what it would look like, but this is not the final design from the architects. They've been working very closely with the Barnes & Noble bookstore people. It will include interior renovations, new HVAC systems, new roof. Sorry, Don, I think there are a few things we had to fix on it. A new site work and some facade improvements. We will also most likely put in a new elevator rather than the spiral staircase that you left for us. And also, we expect that it will be finished sometime around the fall of 2019. We did have a few delays, but we're moving forward very quickly now to get that project designed and a shovel in the ground to do the renovation. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the athletic needs assessment and facility survey. You can see on here a conceptual rendering of what might happen at our Raymond C. Hand Baseball Park. And one of the things that we're planning to do is have a designer, a consultant come in to determine what our long-range athletic programs and facilities needs and updates for the campus. This will include the Winfield Dunn Center, again, the Raymond C. Hand Park, softball facilities, Morgan Brothers Soccer Field, Governor's Tennis Center, Forterra Stadium on the east side, and opportunities really with the downtown as well. We also want to explore even possibilities of shared use of the foyer and other campus facilities. We expect that this study will start probably in July, August sometime, and hopefully will only take us about 6 months or so to complete. The next item that we're looking at is the residential and dining services operations and market assessment. This is kind of tied to some ideas about how we might go and develop some of the other properties that we were recently acquired across College Street. But first of all, we really need to do a complete market analysis, review of the enrollment projections that are in the strategic plan, financial review of the housing budget, debt capacity, and anticipated revenue expenses, identify the demand and the dining options that might be provided on campus. And this will also include interviews with students, focus groups, et cetera, and we hope to be able to complete that this fall as well. The next thing is how we might be able to develop further some of the property that we acquired across the street, the Jenkins and Wynn property, and we are planning to solicit bids for a consultant that will be advertised in July. And we're looking at various options of what we might be able to do with that property. Then we'll identify the potential legal and financial models for partnerships that would help fit Austin Peay's needs, provide risk mitigation strategies, and also, again, integrate the residence, life, and dining services operation and marketing assessment into this overall plan of how we might be able to develop this area over there. There's a lot of ideas, and they're all on the table. And I would go over them, but this would take much longer, and I know that we need to move on. The next thing is what we're going to do with the bookstore space that once we move the bookstore over to the new location. There's been a lot of conversations, a lot of ideas submitted. Right now, I don't have an answer for you. But we've got another year before the bookstore will be finished, so I guarantee you in that amount of time I will be able to come back to this group and provide you very details of what we're going to do with that space. We also have some parking lot improvements. I know those are not so exciting, but they're very important to the institution, as some of our students will attest. We're looking at some improvements to Lot 1, which is over, we call it the Burt Lot. We also have Lot 6, which is services the Forterra Stadium. And then Lot 43 is right behind Archwood. Unfortunately, when we were doing the art and design building, we intended to have some kind of renovation and enhancement of that space, but we were not able to within the funds that we had available. But some of the renovations of these parking lots will increase the number of parking spaces. So I think that's a good thing for our students. And the last thing, not the last thing, but vehicular and pedestrian circulation. We are continuing to work with the city and develop joint long-term plans beneficial to both APSU and the downtown community regarding widening pedestrian pathways and beautification, improving existing pedestrian crossings, and also potentially aligning 4th Street with Home Avenue. That's something that has been mentioned several times, and especially when we're going to have the new bookstore right on the corner there, there most likely will be additional student traffic going across College Street. And so that's been something that we've been talking with the city for, about a year now, and we're going to continue those conversations. The last slide I wanted to mention was just a little bit of an update on property acquisitions. This week got good news. We are ready to close this month, I hope, on the Wesleyan Foundation building at 510 College Street. I think most of you know where that's at, right next to our health services building. And the property right behind it, there's a fourplex, a house that fronts Main Street, and a vacant lot. Those all will be closed about the same time as well. The only other piece of property that it might be of interest to you is I think it's the B&B gas station over here, the property. We did get an appraisal on that property. We did get your approval to acquire it. We got an appraisal. The appraisal was not quite as what the owner expected and what I didn't expect as well. And so we've ordered a second appraisal, and that's come in. And it's come in a little bit closer to the negotiated, the price that we're working with the owner on. So we hope to be able to close on that too before too long. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson, for your report. As always, there's a lot of exciting projects on the horizon, and I guess it just takes money.
Yeah, lots of it.
Trustee Atkins' report contained action items that we need to consider as a full board. Trustee Atkins, do you have a motion for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have before you a copy of the mandatory fee increases for the 2018-2019 academic year. By direction of the committee, I move to approve the mandatory fee increases as written.
Because it's a motion of the committee, we don't need a second. You have heard the motion on consideration of mandatory fees for the 2018-19 academic year. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the consideration of mandatory fees for 18-19 is on the table. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins.
Yes.
Trustee Canada.
Yes.
Trustee Carroll. Yes. Trustee Jenkins.
Yes.
Trustee May.
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley.
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn.
Yes.
7 yeses.
You have also before you a copy of the tuition increase for the 2018-2019 academic year. And by direction of the committee, I move to approve the tuition increase for the 2018-2019 academic year as written.
Again, you've heard because it is a motion of the committee, we do not need a second. You've heard the motion on consideration of a tuition increase for the 18-19 academic year. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the consideration of the tuition increase is on the table. Please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins.
Yes.
Trustee Canada.
Yes.
Trustee Carroll.
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins.
Yes.
Trustee May.
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley.
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you.
The next item you have before you is the information for the differential tuition rate for the Graduate Executive Education Program. And by direction of the committee, I move to approve the differential tuition rate for the executive education programs.
Again, because it's a motion of the committee, we don't need a second. You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the consideration of the differential tuition rate for the graduate executive education programs is on the table. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins.
Yes.
Trustee Canada.
Yes.
Trustee Carroll.
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins.
Yes.
Trustee May.
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley.
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Okay. You also have before you the information for the estimated and proposed budgets. By the direction of the committee, I move to approve the estimated budget for fiscal year 2017 through 2018 fiscal year and the proposed budget for the 2018-2019 fiscal year.
And because it's a motion of the committee, again, we don't need a second. You have heard the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn?
Yes.
7 yeses.
All right, and the last items you have before you, the information for the capital outlay and maintenance request. And by the direction of the committee, I move to approve the capital outlay and maintenance request for the fiscal 2019-2020 fiscal year.
And again, because it's a motion of the committee, we do not need a second. You have heard the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Atkins?
Yes.
Trustee Canada?
Yes.
Trustee Carroll?
Yes.
Trustee Jenkins?
Yes.
Trustee May?
Yes.
Trustee O'Malley?
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn?
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you,
that concludes the Budget and Finance Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Trustee Atkins. Thank you for the opportunity to present my report from yesterday's Executive Committee meeting. The committee reviewed and approved the following action items. Approval of the Presidential Performance Evaluation for fiscal year 17-18. Approval of the revised Presidential Base Compensation, Performance Evaluation, and Incentive Plan for the years 2018 and 19. Approval of the President's Base Compensation for fiscal year 2018 and 19. Approval of the Appeals and Appearances Before the Board Policy 1.010. Approval of the Board of Trustees Delegation of Authority Policy 1.024. Delegation for the confirmation of the President's direct reports. And approval of the university's investment policy statement. The above items will be presented for your review and action after the approval of the Executive Committee minutes. That concludes my report, and I move that the Board approve the minutes of the June 7th Executive Committee as written.
I second.
Thank you, Trustee Canada. And we just need a voice vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. You have before you the summative results of the President's Performance Evaluation and the President's Incentive Payment for fiscal year 2017-18. By direction of the committee, I move that the Board approve the summative results of the President's Performance Evaluation for fiscal year 17-18. Is there a second?
A second.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Canada. It is moved and seconded that the summative results of the presidential evaluation and incentive payment be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question is on the table. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You have also before you the revised Presidential Base Compensation, Performance Evaluation, and Incentive Plan for fiscal year 2018 and 19. By direction of the committee, I move that the Board approve the revised Presidential Base Compensation, Performance Evaluation, and Incentive Plan for 18-19. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Carroll. It is moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, the question on the motion is on the table. Please, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. You also have before you the recommendation for the President's base compensation for fiscal year 2018-19. By direction of the committee, I move that the Board approve the President's base compensation, which is an increase of 12% for fiscal year 2018 and 19. Can I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Jenkins. It is moved and seconded then that the President's base compensation for fiscal year 18-19 be approved. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You have before you Policy 1.010, Appeals and Appearances before the Board. By direction of the committee, I move that the Board approve Policy 1.010, Appeals and Appearances before the Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Atkins.
Thanks
It is-
for that correction.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded that the policy be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. You have before you Policy 1.024, Board of Trustees Delegation of Authority. By direction of the committee, I move that the Board approve Policy 1.024, Board of Trustees Delegation of Authority. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee
Ganada.
Ganada.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries as well. And you also have before you the proposed delegation of confirmation of the President's direct reports. By direction of the committee, I move that the Board approve the proposed delegation of confirmation of the President's direct reports. Is there a second? Seconded by Trustee May. It is moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. You have before you as well the university's investment policy statement for your approval. By direction of the committee, I move that the Board approve the university's investment policy statement. Is there a second? Seconded by Trustee Rayburn. It is moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, and that concludes the report of the Executive Committee. We are also being asked to approve APSU's mission profile. I'd now like to recognize Dr. Rex Gandy, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, to provide information on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Annually, we're required to submit an updated mission statement to THEC, and requires board approval for this. The updated mission statement is found in your documents. I'll be glad to answer any questions about it.
You have heard the explanation from Dr. Gandy. Is there a motion on approving APSU's mission profile?
Second.
Motion by Trustee Carroll, seconded by Trustee Jenkins. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the question on approving APSU's mission profile is on the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're being asked today to approve those individuals selected for APSU awards. If you recall, we approved the award categories at our March meeting. I'd like to recognize Derek Vandermeer, Vice President for Advancement, Communication, and Strategic Initiatives, to provide information on these award recipients.
Thank you very much. We have three separate awards that we would like to have as inaugural awards recognized by the Board of Trustees. The three names that were recommended from a staff committee and forwarded for the consideration by the board are, first off, Austin Peay's Philanthropist of the Year. I don't think that needs any introduction. We're requesting Doug and Linda Downey be recognized. And their bio is on the page, and it's from charitable giving to service. Doug is also the chair of our subcommittee for our foundation and has taken an active leadership role in helping us to continue to develop and find other individuals who want to continue to give. And so we'd like to recognize Doug Downey. The second award is Govs Who Lead Through Military Service. Obviously, military service is a critical part of this institutional identity. As a board, we wanted to continue to look and recommend to continue to look at individuals who have been part of our community, who continue to be leaders at the national level based upon their experience at Austin Peay. Lieutenant General Ron Bailey, 4-star general in the Marines, and you can read his bio of his from being a student athlete and a former football player at Austin Peay, rising through the ranks and obviously being a national leader. And he is an amazing man who has a great, great heart and passion for this institution that's really unmatched. And when you visit him in Washington, D.C., his point of pride and his love for Austin Peay is very evident. And he's one of my probably the most favorite alum I've ever visited, and just see how he wears that and everything he does. Then finally, Govs Who Lead Through Service is Jim and Mark Holloman. Obviously, the Holloman family, 45 years of combined service to Austin Peay, heart and passion in this community, and their commitment to this university is unmatched. And we really want to recognize their service and leadership and service to Austin Peay State University.
Thank you very much, Derek. Is there a motion on approving these award recipients?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Atkins. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Jenkins. Is there any discussion? Other than they're all outstanding nominees for these prestigious awards. So thank you and your committee for putting it together.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, the question on approving the awards, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Now I'd like to recognize Carol Clark, Executive Assistant to the President for Community and Government Relations, to give a report on items of interest coming from the most recent legislative session from the Tennessee General Assembly. Carol?
Good morning, Chair O'Malley and trustees. It was interesting and exciting to serve as a legislative liaison to the General Assembly this spring. The wrong green light. I'll start over. Thank you. Good morning, Chair O'Malley and trustees. It was interesting and exciting to serve as the legislative liaison to the General Assembly this spring. There were a number of bills that were passed that impact APSU, and our senior leadership team is reviewing each of those bills and will ensure that we take the necessary steps to comply with the new laws. This morning, I will briefly share with you key provisions of 6 laws that impact the work of the Board of Trustees. Public Chapter 614 is known as the Tuition Transparency and Accountability Act. This bill identifies the process for board approval of future tuition and mandatory fee increases, requires universities to provide accepted students with a predictive cost estimate for earning a degree in their chosen field of study beginning in the 2020-2021 academic year, and this takes effect August 1st, 2019. Public Chapter 707 creates sunrise provision for governing boards of trustees of the state universities, including Austin Peay. The sunrise provision is a legislative mechanism to give a time frame on the existence of boards, commissions, and departments. The General Assembly created a law that says the boards of trustees will come to an end on a particular date, in this case, June 30th, 2019. This means that on or before that date, there will be a hearing where Austin Peay's board will justify its continuance to the General Assembly. At that time, if approved, they will amend the law to sunset at another time, usually 4 years from that date. If all goes accordingly, the board will never sunset, but these provisions are designed to hold our board accountable to the General Assembly. And between now and the date of that hearing, Ms. Whiteside will determine the extent of preparation required for this process, and we'll make sure that we're prepared for that. Public Chapter 739 establishes that state universities cannot issue diplomas, certificates, or official transcripts to students who owe the university $100 or more unless the debt is secured with a note or a written contract providing for future payment. The key
the key provision of this is that it changes the allowable amount from $20 to $100. Otherwise, it's fairly consistent with what is already in place. Public Chapter 770 adds provisions to present law regarding the process of selecting a chief executive officer of a public institution of higher education. The provisions provide for retaining confidentiality of applicants who are not selected as finalists for the position and establishes a timeline of actions to occur during the search. Public Chapter 771 requires veterans to have a hiring preference. And finally, Public Chapter 929, beginning in 2019, requires state universities to submit a list of policies enacted in the previous year and a summary of each policy to the House and Senate Government Operations Committees by July 1st. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
The first initiative that you mentioned regarding mandatory fees and how would that differ? How would when that's enacted? How would that what changes would we have to make exactly as a result of that legislation?
Okay. The Tuition Transparency and Accountability Act requires a board to give public notice of proposed tuition and mandatory fee increases at least 15 days prior to the meeting. Requires each governing board to provide a report on expenditures derived from tuition and fee increases each year. Requires, and then the provision I've already talked about, providing the predictive cost estimate. Those are the key provisions of that.
We're doing that except for that predictive cost estimate, right? Is that, or not?
We will have to be a little bit more specific about the notice requirement.
I
And I
see.
think it also allows people to comment before you all
I see.
meet. So we will make sure that.
So it's more advanced notice of these items.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand.
And it spells out certain provisions that, that will have to be done and documented.
Thank you very much, Carol.
My pleasure.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping up on that stuff. I'd now like to recognize Michael Cassett's Chief of Austin Peay's Police Department to provide us with an update of security on campus. Chief?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. At the end of the spring semester, we had 4 incidences between April 2nd and May 10th that brought concern to us about the safety and security of the university. All of these events happened off campus, but right on the periphery. And these were events that required us under the Clery Act to provide immediate notifications to the university. The Clery Act has 2 requirements when it comes to issuing notices. The first one is immediate notifications, which are used to notify the university community of a dangerous situation or emergency that exists or threatens the community, and immediate action is needed by the recipient. The other one is called a timely warning. It's used to notify of crimes that occur or events that occur that are repetitive and to prevent ongoing safety or security threats. So an example of that would be we have multiple burglaries in one area. So we send out a notice to tell people how to prevent that from occurring. When we reviewed these incidences, one of the things that we've learned is we need to get more uniform in our the way we present those notifications. In the narrative form, they were confusing, and people were wondering if they were on campus or off campus because they didn't know exactly what streets belonged to campus and which didn't. So working with Vice President Vandermeer, Vice President Robinson, and Bill Persinger, we came up with a uniform layout for those notifications, which we have tested, and fortunately we have not had to use yet. But they are, since one of our mediums that we send those messages out in are text messages, we are limited in characters. So we try to condense while giving appropriate information. We've also begun working with CPD a little bit more than we have in the past. I've had meetings with the patrol commander for our sector. about the surrounding areas. I've been assured that they are continuing to do their random routine patrol as always, but they're also doing concentrated patrols in those areas. We're additionally supplementing that by randomly going a block or two off campus and just driving through that area to give more of a police presence. We're also improving our information sharing with the city to give real-time information as events are going on. They now send us text messages and emails when an incident occurs in certain areas on the campus or around the campus that they're notified of. We've also given them access to certain information that they can look up real time without having to call us. We put mutual aid agreements in place with all the law enforcement agencies in Montgomery County as well as the fire department. And we have reached out to Emergency Medical Services as well as the Emergency Management Agency and Tenova Hospital to get mutual aid agreements as well. We train with the other law enforcement agencies in the fire department and EMS. A lot of times we host those meetings on those trainings on our campus for a couple reasons. Number one, a lot of times they need a training area, but we also want them familiar with our campus because they're going to assist us when we need help. So we're getting them more familiar with our campus, and we have a unified response when we have to do a multi-jurisdictional response. Beyond that, how we train our community and what we're doing. We offer different crime prevention programs and different emergency programs. One of them is an active shooter and how to respond to an active shooter incident for the civilians. This academic year, we provided 10 active shooter courses to our community that had a total of 323 participants. We supplement that with a basic emergency preparedness program that we provide that has a condensed version of active shooter, but it also tells people what to do in the event of severe weather, which is the most likely to happen, and remind people what to do in a fire alarm and things like that. So we continue to put those out there and help our community. We also, this spring, we conducted a campus-wide secure in place drill on March 13th, asking the campus community to participate and think about what they would do if they're ever found in an active shooter situation, because a lot of times we're away from the areas we're used to and just get to thinking about their own safety. And with that, do you have any questions?
As a student, I definitely am a current checker of the crime log online. And after, having to walk up there just to receive a crime log, will that be placed back online, or will that be continuously something we'd have to go and physically pick up ourselves?
Well, we are trying to identify a way to get it online, automated. As of right now, it's a manual process that we're having to do. So we'll continue to explore whether we can get that online.
I've got two questions. Great report, by the way, very informative. First thing, you started out by mentioning 4 events between April and May. Is there any reason why you mentioned, was that just a busy time, or is that unusual? Like other 10 months of the year, we were no events? Or?
Okay, so for the 17-18 school year, we had a total of 10 non-weather related events that we had to issue notifications for. 2 of them occurred on campus, 8 of them were on the periphery of campus. But having so many concentrated at one time in that month is why I mentioned that. And why it kind of brought to the forefront when we looked at the notifications that the message wasn't consistent and we created more confusion than anything. So we wanted to make sure that we improve that.
And then second question, and I'm sure no one in this room will ever have to use this, but in your active shooter training, what's one thing you tell your people?
We keep it simple,
do?
kind of like stop, drop, and roll. If you ever caught on fire, but nobody here is caught on fire, I hope. We use run, hide, fight. So run if you can, hide if you can't, fight if you have to.
Okay, thank you.
How many members of the department are there?
We have 18 sworn officers, if you count me. We have 5 security guards, 3 dispatchers, and then 2 support personnel.
Thank you for your insightful report. It's a shame that we have to talk about active shooter training, but that's where we find ourselves, I think, today. And we appreciate all the work that you do to keep us safe and ready if something bad happens. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to recognize President White to give her report and also report on any interim items.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board. I also want to thank the team for great presentations today. I was pleased with all of the information that was brought, and you know, I live on campus. This is my neighborhood. Elliot and I have actually started walking. I know that's a surprise, but we'll walk downtown and back, and safety of our campus is very important to me as the president, but it's also something that I see all the time because I'm right here. And some universities and colleges don't have sworn officers. They have mostly security guards. Ours are post-certified, and I would be remiss if I did not tell you that they achieved accreditation this year, which is another major milestone in professionalism, and I'm very grateful. I also want to thank you, trustees, for your vote of confidence in me and your support of the work that my team and I are trying to do with the campus. And I take it as the highest privilege and the highest responsibility of my life. And I will do my best to serve and to lead in a way that advances the campus. Today, I want to focus my remarks on Austin Peay's commitment to serving an incredibly important group of students. So we are committed to serving all of our students. My philosophy is if we accept them, we are responsible to get those students across the finish line. We are not achieving that. No one is right now in the nation, but I'm not satisfied with that. But there's a particular group of students that have unique barriers to their succeeding in higher ed, and those are our military-connected students. And I told you at the last meeting that I would be bringing something to share with you this meeting, and so this is that report. We have a special relationship with Fort Campbell and our military-affiliated students, and we're looking for ways that we can better serve them. We've had a connection with the military before Fort Campbell was built more than 75 years ago. Austin Peay began a civilian pilot training program in 1939. We were one of 13 naval schools in 1943. We've been offering courses on post since 1960. Originally, we held classes in the Army Education Center. That's not our center. That's the center that you visited when you had your trustees meeting there before, that is shared among a number of universities and colleges. So we held classes there, and then in 6 World War II buildings that have, most of which have been torn down. As enrollment grew, we outgrew that space, and the university worked out a deal to build a $4.7 million building on post through a 25-year land lease, and that land lease can be extended for an additional 25 years. Not only are we the only higher education institution at Fort Campbell to have its own building, we were the first higher education institution in the nation to do so. And since that time, there's only one other, and that is at Fort Hood. So that is the APSU Center at Fort Campbell. Both civilians and military personnel can take classes there. They can complete several different degrees there, including 3 associate degrees, 5 bachelor's, 4 master's programs, and 1 graduate certificate. Of course, 6 of those 13 programs are fully online and are very popular with students, many of whom have to travel for training or frequent deployments. And we can talk a lot about the value of an online education. I know some people do very well in online ed as students and some don't. Some faculty do very well, some not as much. But when I'm asked about the quality, I really believe that there can be very robust instruction and learning in a well-constructed online course. That's not always the case, but it's our responsibility to do what we can to make it so. The reality is many military students don't have options other than online courses. And so if you don't have a sufficient array of programs offered through the online format, some military students would not consider Austin Peay. Many of our military-connected students enroll in also other degree programs offered on the Clarksville campus, which is this campus. We provide support services to our students at Fort Campbell to help them succeed. Our APSU Center houses representatives from admissions, Veterans Affairs, Financial Aid, Go Army Ed, and the Educational Opportunities Center. That helps students enroll, get through to registering for their courses, and then that's also the first line of defense very often when a student hits a barrier. The center also staffs math and writing tutors and career services support. We have 13 staff members who assist our military there and 47 faculty members who teach on Fort Campbell. We had more than 2,300 military-affiliated students enrolled last year. Of those, nearly 700 were active duty, nearly 1,000 were veterans, more than 500 were family members, and the rest were members of the National Guard and Reserves. The students are largely from Tennessee and Kentucky, but others are from states including Texas, Virginia, North Carolina, and as far away as Hawaii and Alaska. Our military-affiliated students are some of our best and brightest. They bring unique experiences in college, and knowledge into the classroom, where they gain additional knowledge and experiences and skills to make them excellent employees in their fields upon graduation. Those students, though, face some unique challenges on their path to a degree. The Department of Defense has given guidelines that controls recruiting on a post. So even though we have a presence, we cannot actively recruit students on Fort Campbell, neither can the other universities. That means that prospective students get filtered information. So very often they are solicited by proprietary schools, which are for-profit. Actually all of them have a much higher tuition rate than we offer, and most likely have not the support services to help students get through. So sometimes we have students who select them because they are for-profit, not going through states, and they are more nimble to add degrees. So they can be very flexible in terms of offering programs to meet current workforce needs, which would be very attractive to students who are trying to get through to a degree. They also can be more liberal than many state schools in terms of the kind of credit that they accept. We are trying to be very liberal in what we accept for military experience and knowledge and skills. But we have to make sure that that experience, knowledge, and skills maps to the course content that we require and the student learning outcomes that we require for all of our students in our courses to have. It's really important that those students get credit, but also have the skills that they need going forward to succeed in subsequent classes. So the soldiers don't always get a full array of information because that information is filtered. The other challenge they have is they have a short window that they can enroll and get financial assistance through Go Army Ed. So students have to request financial support up to 2 months in advance and then not less than 5 days before. So what happens sometimes is you'll have a student sign up for a class, request tuition reimbursement for that from Go Army Ed, and then because of under-enrollment or something happens, that class is canceled. Well, the student then can't pick up another class and be reimbursed because it's outside of that 5 day to 2 month window. So then the student's just down a class. I have always been under the impression that military benefits were far more generous than they really are. And I know they are generous, and it's an extremely important investment that our nation makes to the military. But they can only be reimbursed for 16 hours a year and a maximum of $4,000. That can be exhausted in one semester. And so it's not that these students can go full-time and get through. If they only get tuition assistance from the military, it's going to take many, many years for them to graduate. We encourage them to apply for federal financial aid in addition to their military benefits so that they can progress as quickly as possible. So we have a rich history with the military in Fort Campbell, and we want to do what we can to support them. But they have needs that we don't always understand, and they have barriers that we're really not designed as a comprehensive university to pull down, because a lot of times we didn't even know they were there. So last fall, I appointed a task force to study the situation as it is and to interview people who were going through as our students and to see what our services are and where we could improve. And I asked Carol Clark to chair that task force, and she was joined by Dr. Christine Nakutis, the executive director at Fort Campbell Center, and then also by Lieutenant Colonel John Montgomery, who you met him last year. He was the professor of military science and head of our ROTC program. He just retired. That's a big loss for us. And then also by Jasmine Yunaris, who is the coordinator of our Military Success Center. So they led this study, and I won't give you all the recommendations they made, but there were two major ones that I think could be game changers for us. And the first is to establish a veteran and military family resource center. That's one place. And we're planning to do that. That's one place where our students, the prospective students, their families can go to get real answers to complicated, thorny questions. Because if everyone came in just with if everybody was a first-time full-time freshman, we say, here's your schedule. But when you've got people who've transferred from institution to institution, maybe coming in needing a military transcript evaluated, it's every person who walks in the door is a one-off. Every single one. It's always an exception. And so we really need to get experts, subject matter experts who can serve those students. So most likely that resource center would be on College Street in the former Lincoln Building, because we would like to have some visibility where not only our prospective students, but our city understands who they are to us, what that means to us, and make it easy to get in and out, and then to house those folks who serve that population. So we're looking at people helping with applying for admission, assessing financial aid, selecting a program of study, registering for courses, progressing toward graduation, and including securing employment after they graduate. Many APSU programs and offices, such as Veterans Upward Bound, Vet Success on Campus, the Military Student Center, representatives from admissions, the Registrar's Office, Student Financial Aid, and Veterans Affairs offices and career services could have a presence in that center. The second major recommendation from the task force is to appoint a senior advisor to the president for military initiatives, preferably a retired senior officer, to help bridge the gap between federal military regulations and federal and state higher education regulations. This individual would provide guidance and strategic leadership to the university on initiatives to serve active duty service members, veterans, and military family members. The advisor would really serve two purposes. One is to create awareness on campus. I don't believe there is one individual on campus, not one staff member, not one faculty member who would intentionally not move heaven and earth to try to help a student, not just the veteran students or the military students. They want to help. But it's difficult to translate these regulations to a person who's got 300 other students and teaching 4 or 5 classes. We need somebody to come in and say, that's important, that's not important. Don't worry about that. Don't spend your time on that, but boy, you got to show up for this. We need someone to help us. And frankly, since we can't recruit like we used to be able to recruit at Fort Campbell, we need somebody from the Army, somebody who has relationships with the Army, who can make sure that Austin Peay is mentioned, and I'm not saying violate any recruiting laws. I am just saying if we had somebody, a senior officer retired here, who wore Austin Peay everywhere and is in every meeting and is invited to every function, that person can have conversations. That person would be a thought leader. That person would be someone who is in mass media. We would say it's a gatekeeper, Celeste, right? And so they're opinion leaders. They're gatekeepers. But in this case, they're gate leaders, and they would help students and platoon leaders and other military officials know that we take this seriously at Austin Peay. And so this would be someone who is an insider in that field and in that industry and in that world and community, and would become an insider here to really bridge the gap. And so the senior advisor would help establish connections and build collaborations to help secure public and private funding, grants, and other resources to support our mission there and the success of our military-affiliated students. Provost Gandy told us yesterday that Austin Peay has the largest number of military-connected students in the state by far. In fact, he gave you, the way he and I described numbers is a little bit different. He was very specific. I will just say that the institution with the next highest number, we have 6 times more than they have. And he told you we have as many or more, way more than all of them combined. That's terrific. But then we ought to be the best at providing services to our military-connected students. And I want us to be the example in the state. And that's what that affecting that particular or implementing that particular recommendation would do for us. So the senior advisor and the Veteran and Military Family Resource Center at Austin Peay will create an easier pathway to graduation. And those students bring their leadership and spirit of service here, which is a great benefit to everyone on campus. And we're fortunate to have the faculty to understand the privilege that we have to serve those students and work with them. Even when deployments and medical appointments may create scheduling challenges, you think, well, why would a medical appointment create a challenge? If I need to go to the doctor, I call and I make an appointment. If I'm a military-connected student, I work with a VA. So if you wait 3 months or 4 months to get an appointment and that's when your appointment is, it doesn't matter if you have a class scheduled. You better be at that appointment. We have a group that understands, again, those really unique barriers, and this individual would help us to tear more of those down. So I have a few more remarks, but I would like to open this up with your permission, Chairman, for questions or comments about these 2 recommendations or some of the things that I've mentioned so far. Yes.
One thing that I know that has been a benefit to me because I'm not part of a military family was the Green Zone training that Jasmine presents to students and faculty and staff. And I really think that would be another benefit, an added benefit to help with educating people like me who's not as not as involved or doesn't have as much knowledge. And that training definitely helped me open my eyes to a world that I've never seen before. So that one, I think that would be something that would be really beneficial to the people kind of like me who don't have that influence yet.
Thank you. And you're right. We do offer training on campus to provide expertise where there might not have been expertise before, where veterans and military-connected students will have, there really is there's like a sticker, a place you can go. If you're struggling with something or you have a PTSD episode, there's an office, there's gonna be a place where there's a note or some sort of a symbol on the outside of the office that this person welcomes me here for help. Other comments or questions? Mr. Atkins.
How we're situated, I guess, facility-wise, with the number of students that we have on base, how many more students could we have with facilities that we currently have? And if we outgrow that, is it not a difficult deal with the Army to get additional space?
That's a good question. You know, at this point, we have plenty of capacity there at this point because a lot of the physical face-to-face classes have moved online. So you don't have as many students who are sitting in the same classes. Now, the classrooms are not large out there, as you've seen, but the strategies that we could use to grow if we needed more on-ground presence is just to extend class times. Also use a hybrid model. This works with that population very well. When I talk about hybrid model, you know, it used to be when I was teaching, I could teach 50 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and tell you what I wanted you to know, and then you go do research on it and go write a paper and do homework and bring it back. In the hybrid model, I would give you a lot of materials that you do on your own. You when I say do, you would actually learn, read, do a series of maybe watch some videos and things like that. But then I would bring you to campus less frequently to actually apply what you learned. And so that hybrid model works in this kind of setting too, because you don't have to have as much space or meet very often. So if I had a Tuesday, Thursday class that met an hour and a half each, I could split it. You would teach one, I would teach on Tuesday, you could teach on Thursday in the same classroom, then the rest of the work would be done off campus. So there are ways to leverage the space that we have.
You mentioned this, first recommendation, I think was a center.
Yes.
Is that in the current facility or is that an additional building? What is that?
What I would like to do, and this is preliminary, but what I would like to do is really evaluate the Lincoln Building on College Street that currently exists, because it's in good shape and it has a lot of space and it has a lot of offices. That's a good building. And so, in fact, what I would love to do, and I'm in some discussions, this is very preliminary, but I would love to have some artifacts also from the Wings of Liberty Museum, because you've got where Don used to have cars. There's this big showroom. You're very familiar with that space too, with your business, and so we could do some traveling exhibits and have something that really shows almost like a mini museum in that showroom area, and then have support offices all through. So I'm not anticipating a new building. I'm not anticipating many renovations to any building. I'm talking about getting something pretty quickly that would work. And then let's say that we decide that we're going to do some major investment across the street, maybe for the public-private partnerships that would include retail, student housing. It might or might not take up that building. And so that's another reason we wouldn't want to do significant changes there, because we don't know what will happen in the long term in terms of our development across the street. I really believe that the development at this point is most likely to happen in the place where we have our Christmas parties, where you had your first board meeting. And then you're talking about not going across toward Wesley, you're talking about going back to Main and Franklin Streets. And that would preserve what was the Lincoln Building for this kind of center long term. Any other questions? So, if you'll indulge me, I can't end my remarks today and I probably need a handkerchief or two, without extending a hearty congratulations to 3 of our top leaders who are transitioning to other things. So first, Dr. Cheryl Bird, who's in the white jacket on the front row, Vice President for Student Affairs, is retiring after 12 years of service at Austin Peay. She told me last November of her intention to retire, and she painted a picture of a very full life of travel and activities that sounds a lot more fun than a person should have in one lifetime. We began a search for Dr. Bird's replacement in January, but didn't come up with the right person. Her legacy here is deep, and it's going to be tough to find someone who is a better advocate for students than Dr. Bird. There's no office on campus that's really more closely aligned to the whole life of the student than Dr. Bird. And so she's a tireless advocate for students and a beloved colleague and friend to many, and she will be missed. She's overseen numerous building and facilities projects, from dorms to dining services, primarily in FOI, initiatives such as the Service Learning Centers, student centers, and countless others. In fact, many of the most innovative student programs on campus have Dr. Bird's fingerprints on them. Beginning July 1, Greg Singleton, we introduced yesterday, Associate Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, will serve as the interim Vice President until the permanent person is in place. So before I move on, I want some individual bows. Please, Dr. Bird, please stand and let us thank you for your service. There is one problem, though. She's the only person I ever met with a degree from the University of Alabama who roots for Auburn. I don't get that. But, You've also heard that Vice President Derek Vandermeer is leaving at the end of the month to take an exciting position at the University of Arizona, a university of nearly 45,000 students. He has had a tremendous influence in his time at Austin Peay. First as Director of Athletics, and the last 3 years as Vice President for something. What were we thinking when we came up with that title? It did. I'm going to correct that just so you know. But he has served admirably as the Vice President for Advancement, Communication, and Strategic Initiatives. He's led major upgrades in branding, oversaw the development of the strategic plan, and restructured both the offices of communication and advancement. Derek was a major force on this campus and will be a major force in Tucson, truly, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up running the world someday. His direct reports will report to me while we conduct a search for his replacement. Lastly, and I am telling you guys, it better be lastly. I'm just saying. Director of Athletics. Well, actually, I need to give Vice President Vandermeer a time to take a bow. And then Director of Athletics, Ryan Ivey, is going back to Texas. I get that. I'm a Texan, but I don't get that, Ryan. You can't leave me for Texas. He's going to assume the AD role at Stephen F. Austin State University. The Lumberjacks often earn the chance to compete in postseason play. They've made national headlines in their recent trips to the NCAA tournaments. Ryan's record of influence at Austin Peay and Texas A&M Commerce is well known. He's leaving a legacy of excellence that we will continue to build upon. If I tried to pinpoint just one thing to focus on in these remarks about his time at Austin Peay, and I couldn't limit myself to one. I could point to turnaround seasons in football and other major sports, 4 coaches winning OVC Coach of the Year awards, 1 winning a national award, and I'll go ahead and say it, another coach who should have won this year, who didn't, but should have, and great work gets noticed. And these guys are going to go do great work for larger universities. I'm confident we'll recruit wonderful colleagues to continue building on our success. We have started already the search for a replacement AD, but I don't want to talk about the future without really understanding what Ryan has done for the portrait in athletics and congratulating him for the present and the past. So Ryan, please stand. And I could say this about all 3. As we search for the next athletics director and the next vice president for something or other, and the next vice president for student affairs, these individuals will join offices that are much more attractive today than they were. And frankly, it's going to be easier to recruit because of the branding that's been done, and then also the major work the university has done in salaries the last few years. So it will be a much easier thing to do. But that search for athletics director is ongoing, and we're using a national search firm to help with the recruiting and screening process. And we'll have on-campus interviews for the finalists and expect to have somebody in place by mid-August. In terms of the vice president for student affairs, that search will commence soon. We're also going to use a search firm there. Frankly, a lot of people are not getting in pools anymore in an open search. They want their protection, their privacy protected when they are candidates. They don't want their names out unless they're finalists. And so it's really important that we have the right person in student affairs as well. And so we'll use a search firm for that. I know we're going to recruit great colleagues to continue this work. But in the meantime, know that Dr. Bird, Derek Vandermeer, and Ryan Ivey will always, forever, be connected to Austin Peay's success. Thank you all. That concludes my report. You have a list of my interim items in your notebooks. If you have any questions about any of those, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Dr. White. That was great. Thank you for the excellent report. And especially for your remarks to our three colleagues who are moving on. I was thinking as you were talking that it's a good thing we did your review a little while ago because I'm concerned about your level of turnover.
Thanks, guys.
Just kidding. I was going to make some comments about our three colleagues, but I will not do that because of your eloquent comments that you've already stated. Just know that we all, me in particular, but every member of this board is thankful and grateful for the passion and commitment that all of you have shown for this university. And we know that you'll be very, very successful in whatever you're doing going forward, whether it's retirement or in your new roles. So thank you very much. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be September 13 and 14. And after that, we have one more thing to do, and that's to adjourn officially. So I move that we adjourn the meeting of the board, and I look for a second. Seconded by Trustee Rayburn. It is moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.